Peace to you, my friends. Must-see TV in the late 70s included the series The Hulk. And every week, my family would tune in to see Dr. David Bruce Banner struggle with a peculiar condition that was the result of overexposure to gamma rays. We would see Dr. Banner become angry, and as he did, he would turn into the Hulk, a green giant who would unleash the full power of his anger. And there was a line from that series that Dr. Banner would say when someone was close to making him angry. He would say, "Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry." That line kind of stuck with my family. And whenever we were testing my mother's patience, she would effectively warn us by saying to us, "Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry." This Sunday, we have what is arguably the most enigmatic story, the story of Jesus getting angry in the temple. This is a tough one for us because here in this one story, we see Jesus get angry, and quite frankly, we don't like it when he's angry. In every other conflict that Jesus encounters in the Gospels, he is the true model of peace. And then there's this episode where Jesus just seems to lose his cool. What's going on here? To begin, we have to understand the significance of the temple for the Jewish people. For them, the temple represents a place where God resides. It is the place where they can get close to God. And their coming to the temple was their way to worship God and to express their love for God. Jesus, being a faithful Jew, would have understood this. And not just from the perspective of people coming to the temple, but also understood it for himself on a personal level out of his own love for the Father. This is what the temple was supposed to be all about. It was a place where people could be with God, where people could be in the presence of divine love. But when Jesus approached the temple, he saw how far the temple had moved away from its original purpose. He saw how many were using it primarily as a way to make money. He saw the corruption, the cheating, and the stealing in business practices. He saw how little any of that had to do with the expression of people's love for God. And it was out of his love for the Father and the sight of the betrayal of the sellers and money changers that became the impetus for his anger. And his turning over the money tables and the stalls was his way of purifying the temple and restoring it to its original purpose, one of love and worship. We know this dynamic very well in our own personal lives. If someone does harm to someone that we love, we get angry. We don't become angry just for the sake of becoming angry. No, we become angry because love has been violated. An injustice has been committed. And our anger is a natural response to love violated. And it then becomes the first step in restoring what has been lost. The trick, though, is knowing what is the appropriate expression of anger in any given situation. And because these dynamics play themselves out in a matter of split seconds, we don't always get it right. My friends, the tragedy is that this story of Jesus has often been misinterpreted by many and used as a justification for releasing their own anger and even unleashing violence upon others. Jesus became angry, why can't I? Sadly, this is a trap that everyone is prone to falling into. It doesn't matter who we are, whether we're liberal or conservative, Democrat or Republican. We're all prone to unjustified expressions of anger and using this passage as our get-out-of-jail-free card. Recently, a prominent Democrat known for brash and angry responses was asked what their favorite Bible story was. The response? Out of all the stories in the Gospels, the response was Jesus getting angry. It is repulsive to God when anyone uses God's own word as a justification for their anger, hatred, and violence. We should never use the word of God as a way to judge others, to withhold compassion from immigrants, to deny mercy to the repentant, to demean or abuse women, to inflict violence on members of the LGBT community, to discriminate people of color, to ignore the poor, and to kill another human being in the supposed name of God. This weekend, Pope Francis made a historic visit as the first pope to visit Iraq, the birthplace of Abraham. In the ancient city of Ur, he said this: "From this place where faith was born, from the land of our father Abraham, let us affirm that God is merciful, and that the greatest blasphemy is to profane his name by hating our brothers and sisters. Hostility, extremism, and violence are not born of a religious heart. They are betrayals of religion." When I was a newly ordained priest, I was assigned to a parish not far from here. It's hard for me to admit, and I'm not proud of some of the things that I did there in my first few years. You see, I came out of the seminary like many people often do, whether they're a young priest coming out of the seminary or doctors graduating from medical school. I was cocky. I thought I knew it all. And I found myself continually frustrated with the dichotomy I discovered between the study of parish ministry and actually living out parish ministry. So I often became angry with people. Now, thankfully, I never threw over any tables, but I did express my anger in ways that were inappropriate and even hurtful. It took me a couple of years, but after much soul searching, I learned that my anger was all wrong and unjustifiable. Ultimately, I realized that my anger was not coming from love. I hadn't even begun to entertain the thought that I was sent to that parish not to correct parishioners, but to love them. Thankfully, I came to this understanding and was able to change and finish my first assignment on a much better note. Don't get me wrong, I still find myself getting angry, but now I often try to stop myself, and before acting or speaking, I ask myself the question, do I love this person? Have I loved them first? And is my anger coming from a betrayal of that love? Or am I reacting to a betrayal within me, to some unresolved interior conflict? A word of caution, though. Our love has to be authentic. Authentic and genuine love is a reflection, an extension of the God who is love. There are many things in the world that we might love, but they aren't always necessarily a reflection of God's love. Here again, another trap that we can easily fall into, just as I described it in my own personal experience, and sadly, as we all saw just a couple of months ago at the U.S. Capitol. Many people rushed the Capitol, destroyed property, desecrated our nation's sacred buildings, and hurt many and even killed some. And many of them who did that have said that they were expressing their anger because they love America. But do they really love America? Or do they love an America that no longer exists? Our country has changed dramatically in the last 60 years, and admittedly has experienced and will continue to experience some growing pains. But the love expressed on January 6th was for an America they want to make again. An America that is less diverse, less racially integrated, and less just. That's not a love that emanates from God. My friends, instead of using this story as a way to justify our uncontrolled anger, let's use it as a way to learn from Jesus that the only anger that is justifiable is the one that is born from genuine love. Let's learn something from Jesus' anger and try to practice it in our own lives, because that's what disciples do. they learn everything from Jesus. Primarily, how to love, but including even how to be angry. We need to get this right, because quite frankly, we often get it wrong. And no one likes it when we're angry.